This is the Hidden Leaf Village's handsome devil, Rock Lee, and you're watching Anime Egotists. After this, you can do 51 sit-ups or watch all 51 episodes of Rock Lee and his ninja pals. Rock Lee. Leaf Hurricane!
And welcome back to the Anime Egotists, where they wouldn't give us our own bowls of ramen at Ichiraku. We're not that special to have our own stuff on the menu.
No, but they let us at least add or subtract things if we didn't want it in the bowls, so that'd be nice.
I don't think there's a whole lot I wouldn't take in a bowl of ramen, but I guess, I guess in a sense that's true. Well,
Yeah, I don't think so either. So.
Anyways, my name's Alex, and I can't promise that if I was in the anime we'd have a great conclusion, but it wouldn't be a boring one.
And I'm Richard. It might be a boring one.
Yeah, and we are back, and one of the more sad things about anime that happens is, well, death. Death can be very sad in anime.
Yes, but it can also heavily progress a story or set up for what is to happen in the future. So we decided to talk about the best deaths or the most impactful deaths in anime, I guess.
That's right. Now, and whether it's a case of, oh, I'm so sad that this person's gone, or it's a case of, well, they at least went out in a cool way, or in some cases where it's just like, I hated you and you went out the perfect way, and then I start laughing because there's something wrong with me. These are the deaths in anime that, well, we definitely understand, and in some cases can enjoy these deaths. Would you like to start us off?
Sure, I can. Well, I guess I'm going to start with my Naruto one. If that's okay, or do you want? So this one is two people, and it's Minato and Kushina from that kind of start out your story in Naruto.
Okay.
Naruto has quite a few very impactful deaths throughout it, but this is one that, I mean, it is. We know it happens from the start of the series because we know the fourth Hokage died to save the village. We learn more that they're Naruto's parents and all that. It sets everything up. You learn that it looked like they were on the verge of winning pretty much. All they had to do was trap Kurama back in Kushina, and they were done. That was the end of it. But Kurama goes after Naruto as an infant, and they jump in it the way, use the last of their strength to save Naruto, and implant the Nine Tails in him. And it's just one of those moments. It's like, wow, this is actually, and it comes off of a pretty good fight between Minato and Obito right before this. So it's kind of an excellent conclusion to this part of the story when we get to learn about it.
Yeah, it does make it all the worse that we know that they're gonna die, but they go out, like protecting their child, which kind of sucks considering when Naruto meets his dad in a vision, he yells at him and hits him, and then he meets his mom and he hugs her and he's like, "Oh, my mom's so great." I'm like, "All right, okay, dude, but all right."
Yeah, but again, Naruto has so many impactful ones, but this is one that I felt like we haven't really talked too much about. We've talked about some of the other ones, and I feel like we might talk more about them, but this was one that, again, this is kind of the catalyst for the story that we see of this in the Naruto universe. So
yeah, I can definitely understand. Even though I didn't watch this as it was coming out, when someone told me and I finally started catching up, I was like, "Oh goodness, this is sad."
So, all right, but Minato and Kushina, just a good way to tell the end of their story and the beginning of Naruto's.
Yeah, I understand.
Okay. So your first one?
Kasumi Yoshizawa, Persona 5 Royal.
Okay.
All right, I've given Yoshizawa a pretty hard time, but this was a pretty tragic and, dare I say, effective death. So we think the whole time we're dealing with Kasumi Yoshizawa. She talks about how her sister died in an accident, but as it turns out, that's about halfway true. As it gets revealed, Kasumi was the one who died, and Sumire was the one who was still alive, but she took on the alias of Kasumi, thanks to just all the trauma she went through. Kasumi was the one who was great at gymnastics, the perfect model student, everybody loved her, but Sumire was the one who wasn't that. She struggled, she wasn't confident. And then when Kasumi dies in an accident, and it traumatizes her, and you see just the effect it has. She's trying to be Kasumi. She's trying to be perfect. But throughout the course of the game, she kind of realizes that she doesn't have to be that. She can honor her sister's memory by just being herself. And while it's not done, well, I think the extra stuff about Yoshizawa I'm not loving. I do like the story of that she's so traumatized and so scared that Dr. Maruki's way of thinking makes a good amount of sense to her. But it helps that they finally snap her out of it and she becomes her own person. But the death itself was super impactful.
Yeah, it sounds like it. I knew that you hadn't really talked much about the royal extra storylines and stuff, so I didn't know about this part, but it does sound like it is an extra bit, and it sounds. I mean, I'm trying to think of how to put it. Like, to embrace that tragedy so much and pretty much and take on that personality and try to live up to that same person's standards who you view as that perfect person.
Yeah, it does. I like I said, this I don't necessarily love how she feels so attached to Joker compared to all the other characters. Like she doesn't have that many interactions with Haru or Morgana or anything like that. And then she did kind of feel forced into the story in some aspects. But at the same time, like I said, the story itself is good. It's just the extra stuff that makes me go, I don't hate this character, but I don't especially love this character. But I still have to give if like the death of Kasumi did, I can't act like it was a bad thing.
Okay. Yeah, Kusan, I haven't played this part of it, Persona 5, so maybe eventually I'll get around to it.
I've heard that before.
I know. Well, if I can get my computer working again, then I've got it downloaded. I just haven't had a chance to play it. So,
Yeah, but I'm giving Yoshizawa I'm giving Yoshizawa her flowers, so you guys can't jump on me that much for it.
all right. So my next one.
Go ahead.
All right. So I put Rengoku from Demon Slayer.
Okay.
He's not the first death, but he's one that you really start to feel like the leaders of the Demon Slayers are starting to believe in uh, our main characters because uh, they come in and work on the Demon Train arc, and they've managed to defeat the Lower Moon One, which is this strongest and last of the Lower Moons. Um, and you think the day is saved, everything's going great, and then the Upper Moon 3 comes running out of the woods and is about to uh, kill Tanjiro. And Rengoku steps up and starts fighting him, and it's just one of those moments that he gets offered a chance. Like he gets a hand shoved through his chest, and he's on the verge of death, and he gets offered a chance to become a demon to survive and come back, and he knows that he'll be able to make it up to one of the upper moons, and he completely rejects it, continues to fight despite knowing he's going to die pretty much, and it's just one of those really nice moments. And again, he's got one of those weird personalities. The first time you really get to learn about him, he's eating a boxed lunch that he got from one of the stations and keeps screaming tasty every time he takes a bite.
I've been there before.
Yeah, it's just he's such a weird and nice character, despite like what I said about not liking the Hashira in the last video necessarily. But you learn to like this guy. He's so nice.
Yeah, but I can especially see how people would be like I remember being online and seeing what happened when he died. And let's just say I don't remember fans being especially thrilled about it.
Yeah, it kind of set up that even to show that even like the strongest of the demon slayers are kind of weak in comparison to the highest ranked demons right now. So there's a long way to go still for them to reach their potential.
Yeah. I can co-sign though. Once again I haven't given Demon Slayer a chance yet. I'm actually proud of myself. I've started like 4 or 5 different shows in the past couple of weeks and months, but just it hasn't gotten there yet.
Yeah, I mean, it might be one to just wait till it's completely done, and it won't be too terribly long. Like it won't be a Naruto, but it won't be your 12 episodes. It's kind of that nice middle ground where you get a good 50 to 60 episodes, maybe. I don't know how many it's going to be when it's done.
Yeah,
Maybe up past that.
yeah. Besides that one episode I saw with you and the guys, and I don't even think it was a full episode. I think we jumped in at like the 5 minute mark and just watched the rest of it. And we're like, oh, this looks kind of cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that was kind of the first time I decided I was going to eventually watch it, despite it getting shoved down my throat for the first like season.
Yeah. All right, but I can co-sign.
All right. So your next one?
The Devil from Black Clover.
Okay.
All right, so the devil, I'm not gonna pretend like I know his actual name, was the one who started the war between and instigated it between the kingdoms and the elves. He was the one who ruined the elves' lives by massacring a good amount of them and tricking them into thinking it's the humans' fault. So when they realize that he's the one in charge, they all put their differences temporarily aside, and he's really powerful. It leads to some awesome fights towards the end of the arc. And I just love how this is a good amount of the Black Clover villains. You could tell you kind of felt bad for them in some cases. Some of the,
Mhm.
not all of them were were going to be redeemed, but you still understood that you felt sorry for them in a sense. This is not that. He is completely irredeemable, and they treat him as such. And having Asta and Yuno be the ones who team up and just ultimately destroy him, thanks to also teaming up with people like Yami, Charlotte, and some others, it really sent the arc off on a really great note. Plus the impact he had throughout the series up until that, like, hey, he was responsible for a good amount of this, which I don't love, but it felt believable at the same time, especially with the stuff with the original Wizard King.
Yeah, because doesn't the Wizard King sacrifice himself in some way? That's what I thought. And if I remember correctly, I mean, and to your point about the other villains, I mean, it really does feel like the Eye of the Midnight Sun. A lot of them were manipulated into like embracing some of their worst characteristics to uh, do stuff for the progress of the Devil's plan. So
Yeah, and he's slimy, but there is an element of cool about him. But that doesn't make me go like, oh, I wish he'd stayed around. Like, no, he's dead, and I'm kind of glad for it, especially since it just showed especially since the whole conflicting nature afterwards of, well, Asta has devil elements about him, but on the other hand, he saved the entire world. So I'd like to think I'd be on his side at that point.
yeah, I, I can co-sign. I've seen bits and pieces of this part, so I know vaguely because this is also when we learn about oh god, the girl who could turn into the bird. She's connected to it as well.
Yeah, Nero, Sakurai, whichever. I still call her Nero because she never seems to correct people afterwards, but it's all right.
Yeah, but just yeah, I'll co-sign. I think this is a moment that I'm going to really enjoy whenever I get around to it.
I've heard that before.
I've got so many things to watch still
Uh-huh.
and play.
Uh-huh.
All right. So my next one.
Please.
All right. So I debated on which one to do for this one, from the Marineford arc of One Piece, but I settled on Whitebeard. While I like Ace's death of him sacrificing himself for Luffy after we uh, finally feel that he's going to be alive, the whole Whitebeard standing up, screaming that the One Piece is real to the world, and then dying on his feet. I don't know. It just hits. It's like this man. The Navy killed him, but they couldn't defeat him, and it just. I don't know. It comes full circle at this point, and then uh, you get the Blackbeard pirates finishing him off and taking his devil fruit power somehow, and which still hasn't been explained to this day, as far as I understand.
I mean,
So,
once someone dies, they lose their devil fruit, but at the same time, even I'm kind of like, no, this needs an explanation.
and I know it'll eventually come because we got like another decade before the conclusion, but we're within the final third of this series.
I think we're both going to be in the same retirement home by the time One Piece finally ends.
Yeah, probably.
If you steal my tapioca, I'm smacking the shit out of you.
It's okay. I'll eat the bran flakes.
Lucky bastard. But yeah, I can co-sign, especially because it's in the sense of it's like, oh, he's dead, but it's like he's still standing. And a tiny part of me was also like, I still wouldn't walk up and mess with him. He might be like, he might not actually be dead. But at the end of this arc, you think, okay, so Ace is gone, Whitebeard's gone, and now the Straw Hats are splitting up for a good bit. So, yeah, so a lot happened in the past dozens or so episodes.
Yeah, this is kind of the culmination of everything because you've got at the same time Luffy's being rushed out by Law to save his life because he's kind of in shock and badly injured as well. So this is just so much happens in these like this episode and the next one. So it's just again, I like Whitebeard's death just that little bit better.
Yeah. Yeah, but then again, I think I like Whitebeard's death better because he goes out like a badass, and Ace goes out like a badass too. But Luffy's crying kind of takes me out of it. Look, I understand it's a tragic moment, but looking at his face as he's crying kind of makes me laugh more than I should. Yes, I know I'm a bad person for that.
Yeah, it's just it's the way it's drawn because it's so over the top.
Yeah, even in the video games, they make it a little more believable. Like he's crying and he's crying out, but they don't hold on his face that long. So I'm like, okay, I believe it. And then I watch the anime and I'm like, I'm sorry, Luffy, but I can't take you seriously right now.
They cut to his face as he's being carried by Jinbei a lot. So I could see that being taken away from this.
Yeah, but still, Whitebeard's death, he went out like a badass for his family.
Yeah. So your next one?
All right, Bruno slash Antimony from Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds.
Okay.
All right, so Bruno is someone from the future, and he's also part cyborg. Yeah, go figure. But he's from the future, and he's supposed to help Yusei master Excel synchro summoning. Hey, a new type of synchro summoning that does help him out in a lot of jams. But Bruno himself is kind of just timid. He's shy, but he's brilliant. While Antimony, when he transforms, is this cool, wise, badass character her. And throughout one of the final arcs, there's something called Z1, which the gang are both going up against, but they're still also trying to save the world. And at one point, Yusei realizes that he recognizes this new enemy, and it's Bruno or Antimony. Because for the longest time he wasn't able to tell who was who. How I'm not sure. But they go up against each other one final time, and Yusei realizes that he has to take down Bruno. Oh, he wins the duel, learns how to Excel Synchro, and everything looks like it's going to work out. But as they're trying to escape, they realize that a hole is opening up and there's nothing that can be done. So Bruno sacrifices the last little bit from himself and his dual runner to get Yusei out of there so he can go save the day. And you hear Yusei cry out in terror, like the normally calm, collective, wise guy of the group is calling out in horror over losing one of his friends. And unlike most Yu-Gi-Oh characters, Bruno doesn't come back. Unless you count Duel Links, but no, he's gone. He's gone. I don't even truth be told, I don't even think if Four Kids had done this, they would have kept him alive. But Bruno is permanently gone. And you see just the effect it has on the others and just how sad they are. Like, hey, we saved the world and everything, but we lost one of our best friends. It's kind of horrifying to see.
Yeah, especially because I know 5Ds is a overall darker story than the previous two, although I don't know, GX has some dark moments by comparison. They kidified so much of the original series when you think about it, with like all the uh what is it? Shadow Realm stuff instead of like actually dying or putting people into a coma or injuring them. It's they didn't pull back. I mean, even in the first few episodes, people legit get more hurt than I think any of the others.
Yeah. It's especially all the more tragic because Bruno, his mission was complete. He helped Yusei, and then Yusei saved the world. But you'd like to think at that point, be like, oh man, I wish he could stay around, make friends with everybody. But no, he's gone. He's gone.
Yeah, Is this in relation to because isn't there a character related to Paradox or something in 5Ds?
I believe there's a chance, but I could not tell you off the top of my head. My memory's a little fuzzy on Paradox in general.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I'm doing it based off my knowledge from Duel Links, so I don't know if that was related here or not
Yeah.
because it's future people coming back.
Yeah, but it was just a sad. It was bittersweet because as happy as you were for Bruno helping everyone, you were still gonna miss him in the end. And they even tried creating a character similar to this in one of the video games, and she doesn't die, so that's cool. But I still felt for Bruno.
Yeah, I guess I could see this being a big shock for being again a legit death of somebody who probably in any of the other series would have joined as a side character like this or member of the team on a regular basis. So I could see this being a big deal.
Especially since he joined the group, like he was a part of the group for a long time before he
Oh,
finally passed, so that made it all the harder. But just I don't know. I still like I get the reason behind it, but I still miss Bruno.
okay. Okay, so sounds like a good story arc actually though.
Yeah.
All right. So my next one. All right. I put Simon from Fairy Tale. So this takes place I forgot what the name of the tower is, but it's a fairly early arc in Fairy Tale. Um Pretty much Urza's friends from when she was captured and made a slave as a child and had to work on this tower that was supposed to resurrect the Dark Wizard Zareth. Um, is um, killed defending her. Um, he had he's kind of the one um, of her former friends that didn't really believe in anything that he was told and ends up um, being an ally. And I but I'm trying to think of how to put it. Um, uh, he's kind of a cyborg in this because he got injured once before saving her, and uh, it's revealed that he actually has this big crush on Urza throughout his entire life. He didn't stop believing in it or anything, and it's a again kind of comes full circle. He sacrifices himself to save her so that she can go on to fight their friend who is being mind controlled. It's just a whole thing with their relationships.
That was it though?
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's more. It's one of those that the emotion because she finds out as he's dying that he actually cared and loved her pretty much, and
Oh,
he
that's all
never
the
stopped.
worse.
Yeah, but it helps set up Fairy Tale because Fairy Tale always felt up until this point that oh nobody's ever going to die, and this set it up that no people will die in this series still. So it kind of changes just enough to indicate that there will be that potential for you don't necessarily know if every character is safe.
Yeah, and I've said before that I don't necessarily like more deaths in an anime doesn't necessarily mean the anime is better per se, but at the same time though, it does sound like it was meaningful enough and would you say early enough in the series that that made people go, "Oh, this looks like nobody's safe right now."
Yeah, this is kind of the third major arc. There's the first one was they chase after a guy with a ancient dark magic object. The next one is they go try to transform an island back from a demon control, and then this one. So it's kind of just the summation of those first kind of intro arcs where we get to know the main cast.
Yeah, I can understand that, especially so early on. I can understand why it'd be impactful.
Yeah. And this introduces a couple new characters in this arc, but his sacrifice just I don't know what about it. I just like it more than a lot of other deaths.
We've had two cyborgs in a row. I'm not really sure how I feel about that.
Yeah, he's got this like big metal chin thing. I think it's more just supposed to be like they did that to protect his broken jaw as a kid, and he never took it off. But
Well, if it
I
looks
call him a
cool,
cyborg.
if it looks cool enough, I wouldn't take it off either.
Yeah. All right. So your next one?
All right. Ryo Ogino, Buddy Daddies.
Okay.
Hey, not all of these deaths are sad. Heck, like I said before, this is a villain with no redeeming qualities. At least with Ray's dad, he knew he couldn't take the life of his own son at the end. But Ogino is perfectly fine letting people die, and he also wants to know and record their last words. At first, you think he's like, oh, he's just going to be some random dude, who cares? And then when you see he kills Miri's mother and also wants to take down Miri, he you've grown to hate the guy, especially when he tries to kill Kazuki in one of the last episodes. But after Ray and Kazuki get done mowing down everybody in the organization, and they both have a pretty long fight against Ogino. Oh, and as family friendly ish as this show could be, seeing him get a knife through the throat kind of shocked me at first. And he falls and he wants to record his final words. He's like, I want to record my own final words. And I think that's somewhat beautiful. And then you realize that he can't talk. And right before he's about to write something down, you just see a random flame get thrown into the room. And the whole kitchen he's in pretty much bursts into flames. So the last thing he wanted to do was record his own last words. But not only could he not record it, he also couldn't say it. Do I seem like a bad person for enjoying this step? Maybe, but at the same time, I don't really care. He was a horrible human being who got his just desserts in a better way I could have ever written.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Because the first when we first meet him, he's technically on their same side because of they still work for the organization at that point. It, but the way he kind of talks about just wanting to get people's last words, it just gives you the creeps throughout this part. I don't know what it is. It's the way he says it, I guess.
To be fair, if I woke up with his face every morning, I'd be pretty upset too.
Yeah, that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But to preface it a little bit, he dies in the very last episode, and I was off. I remember I was off that day, and I was waiting. And I'm like, let me just work. 12:30, Buddy Daddies comes. The last episode comes out. I'm waiting until 12:30. If there's an emergency, I don't care. I want to see what happens. They did not disappoint.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite animes that does that. That only lasts, what is it, 13 episodes, 12
12,
episodes?
13 episodes.
Yeah, it's one of, if not my favorites, still.
Yeah, but that's pretty much it. Ogino, you son of a motherless goat, you got what you deserved. You're in the ground.
Yeah. Well, he's in a burned out kitchen, but
No one will
same
miss him.
difference.
No one will miss him.
100% co-sign. It's
All right.
it's probably one of the most satisfying deaths at the end of a series.
Yeah. Which to me makes it one of the better ones. But that I don't want to talk about his ugly Oompa Loompa looking face any longer than I have to. So let's go to honorable mentions.
All right. Honorable mentions time. So my first honorable mention, I put Twice from My Hero Academia.
Okay.
So his death almost feels like the catalyst for the dark moments that the heroes face coming up. Pretty much Hawks, one of the top-rated heroes, has infiltrated the Para-Liberation Front, which is working with the League of Villains to try to pretty much get rid of their goal is to get rid of the laws that require people to not use their quirks unless licensed. And Hawks knows that with Twice's ability that pretty much he can become an army because he can multiply himself. He has his ultimate power or ultimate attack is called Sad Man's Parade, where he just sends out like a million clones of himself. They may be weak as all get out, but they pretty much the plan is to overwhelm the heroes with sheer numbers. And so Hawks tries to convince Twice just throughout the thing that he doesn't necessarily need to, but Twice is dedicated to the cause. So when the heroes begin their assault, before Twice can activate his powers and overwhelm the heroes, he uh, attacks, and Hawks attacks him and kills him. But this triggers like what's her name? Well, multiple characters pretty much go more insane than they already technically were, and view the heroes in even a worse light. It's like you couldn't save him, so now you're how do you expect to save us kind of things.
From everything I've heard, Toga doesn't take it well.
No, she's not Toga. Thank you. She kind of uh it kind of drives her more insane, and she realizes that she can actually use his ultimate power because her awakened quirk is that while she can already become people, she can become them with their quirk. So she has his blood and can with now become him for a little while and use his quirk to actually succeed in their ultimate goal. So it's a lot. And again, it kind of leads into Shigaraki awakening with all of his ultimate powers and All for One coming back and all that. It's just this is kind of the moment that feels like the heroes have taken the wrong step and now have kind of screwed themselves.
Yeah, man. Are there any? Is anybody with a quirk that's called therapy? Because I think the villains might need it.
I'm sure there is. It's we know exactly what to say, but they probably got killed by somebody to prevent them from actually getting to use that power.
He doesn't get an episode, but that news reporter got an episode to begin that one season. I don't get it.
Yeah. Or maybe they only work with the heroes.
Oh God, that makes them even more evil. But I guess I can co-sign on to that. It's all the more heartbreaking when a villain dies and you feel bad for them, but it's especially worse when you look at the hero and you're like, what the hell? Who am I supposed to be rooting for in this case?
Yeah, I see where Hawks is coming from because he knows that Twice is pretty much he's like a secret weapon for the villains, but it still makes you go, Hawks, really? Why did you couldn't have another way? You couldn't continue to talk your way out of this somehow. You're the one that feels like you could talk your way out of this. And
Oh, that makes it even worse somehow.
so, but yeah, Twice.
All right, I can co-sign though.
Uh, your first honorable mention?
Mitsuba Okita from Gintama.
Okay.
All right, talked about her before, but I can confidently say it's been years at this point. So she's Soguo's sister, and even though Soguo is kind of a sadistic man-child, Mitsuba is actually very kind and sweet to other people. Well, her favorite food are these really spicy chips that probably could kill somebody if given the chance, but she still does her best to be kind to people, and when she's around Soguo, he's actually a lot nicer. But we learned that she also has a boyfriend who's doing some shady stuff, and her boyfriend is out to kill a lot of different people and steal. Well, meanwhile, Hijikata and Soguo, like I said, do not get along, and we learn the reason for that. Hijikata, Mitsuba fell in love with Hijikata, but Hijikata rejected her. And Soguo resented him for that, and that's why they have such a strained relationship. But the plot twist being that Hichikata doesn't hate Mitsuba. He actually loves her dearly, but he's part of the police. If he dies when they're together, it's going to break her heart. But throughout the 2 episodes that they're in, we learn that Mitsuba is also really sick. And when Hichikata goes to stop her boyfriend, and right before it looks like he's about to die, before everybody can save him, and he admits, I'm doing this. I keep fighting, not necessarily just because. I'm fighting because I want the woman I love to be happy. And they save the day, but it's too late. And Mitsu tells Soguo in a speech, I'm proud of you for the way you've been. And you're the little brother I'm always proud of. And as she passes, her hand drops, but Soguo catches it and puts it back on his face while as he's bawling his eyes out. One of the most sadistic characters, you see just all the pain he's going through. And afterwards, you see Hijikata and Gintoki eating the spicy chips she loves so much, and Hijikata's like, "Man, these chips are so spicy. It's probably what's causing my eyes to run with so much water." And I'm like, "Yeah, me too." like I've talked about before, this wasn't a death where a couple of tears were coming out. I was bawling my eyes out audibly as I watched this episode. I'm like, I can't watch another episode for a good minute.
Yeah, I remember when you talked about this one because it affects so many characters and so many in the same way, but for so many different reasons. I don't know. The way you just talk about this one, I can feel that there's a lot of emotion behind this one. It even for somebody who's only in a handful of episodes, it sounds like.
Yeah. What the I want to say the episode before or the episode that she does die in is titled "Women Who Ask What's More Important, Work or Me Deserve a German Suplex." So when you see that title, you're like, "Oh, this is going to be funny." It's like, "Oh no, no, it's this was one of the most heartbreaking things I've ever seen."
Is it true? I've heard that the Gintama episodes, if they have some weird, very funny name like that, they're the more emotional episodes.
The yeah, I thought that at first, and then some of the more ridiculous episodes, I'm like, "Oh, no, the ridiculous titles." Like, "Oh, this is a ridiculous episode." I don't think there's rhyme or reason to have the episode titles.
'Cause that's the thing that from what I've seen of Gintama, is so not funny, but interesting, is that they can have such strong emotional moments and be so comedic as well. So it's a really weird but nice combination. So
Yeah, yeah.
I'll co-sign this.
Also, it's kind of an honorable mention because even the mangaka has come out and said, "Yeah, in hindsight, I think I would have kept her alive," which I kind of feel like maybe he should have too. But it was good enough to the point where everybody's saying, if you have to watch two episodes of Gintama, watch these two episodes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe I'll get into more of just what Hijikata goes through another day, but just you feel bad for the guy because you think he's just some stoic jerk at times, and he can be, but like if one of the toughest people in the show was bawling his eyes out, I felt sorry for the guy.
Okay, so yeah, again, I don't know. Something about the way you talk about this one, I feel like it hits you differently than even some of the other ones up here.
Yeah, I'm glad I watched the episode alone because people would have made fun of me for the way I was crying because I was like a newborn baby.
All right, I'll co-sign. Uh, so my next honorable mention.
Sure.
All right. So I put Goku's first death from Dragon Ball Z.
Okay.
So again, this is again coming from somebody who watched the original Dragon Ball, then watched Z, and I know a lot of people just watch Z. This changed how things felt because sure, other characters, Krillin, Chaozu had died previously during the King Piccolo arc, but Goku always found a way to get stronger and come back and win the next time. And he was always alive. This, again, the main character, the strongest person on Earth, dies to pretty much holding his brother still to get and getting killed by his, at that point, arch rival enemy in Piccolo. But it does lead into the nice moment where you get to learn about the afterlife in this world and get to go see him go train and become uh, like the next level and be able to compete at the galactic level, I guess is the best way to put it. It all kind of sets everything up for where we go from here. Well, it's not the Super Saiyan transformation thanks to Krillin's death. I don't know. It led to some very interesting abilities in the Kaioken and the Spirit Bomb.
Yeah, especially because everybody takes the death seriously. It's at the point where it's like, oh, we got two more Saiyans coming. Look, we might not stand a chance, but we can at least train. We can at least get better. So it's a death that motivates everybody else around them.
Yeah, and this is still a point in the series where you don't necessarily feel that like the humans are, without a better way of putting it, worthless in this upcoming fight. They still feel like they don't necessarily stand a chance, but they stand a chance of helping more at this point.
Yeah, exactly. It's a kind of I do have a backup just in case, but I did kind of say both of Goku's deaths because when it comes to his second one, And he realizes that that Gohan isn't a fighter. Gohan's not doing well enough. And then when Cell decides to self-destruct, he teleports in and apologizes to Gohan for everything and sacrifices himself to save the Earth. Cell ends up coming back, but at the same time, you feel that Goku messes up, and his sacrifice is a way to reprimand that.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. I debated his other death on here, but um again, the Boo saga kind of changes so much with that one. So I don't know. I have
It was
mixed
going to
feelings
be an
about a
honorable
second.
mention.
Yeah, so I can see both, but I this one just feels like it sets things up differently.
Yeah, but I will say about the second one, about his second one when he says, "Take care of your mother for me." That was cool. Well, but I actually prefer the video game where he tells Gohan, when he tells Gohan, "Tell your mother I love her very much," and you feel it in his voice.
Yeah, I like the some things where they change stuff like that just slightly. Um, the one example that comes to mind for me is in the English dub when he's fighting Beerus, they changed it from something about why do you like destroying so much to I will not let you destroy my world, and that hits so much better in the English dub.
Yeah, it does. Still, it's part of my point of saying, look, I understand to some people might say, oh, well, I don't really like Dragon Ball Z because people stay alive. I'm like because no one dies. I'm like, yeah, but if even when people come back, the deaths are still impactful.
Mhm. And I mean, if they ever need it to be even more impactful, they can always have something happen where the Dragon Balls can't, or they choose not to, or all sorts of little things can happen to allow uh, them to stay dead if we need them to, technically.
Yeah, I can definitely co-sign though. Like Goku, honestly, I mean, like I actually do feel like Goku might actually be one of my favorite characters, just anime, cartoon, just in general. So, well, anything when people say good stuff about him, I'm okay with it.
Yeah. But yeah, Goku, his first death just it leads to one of my favorite abilities because I love the Kaioken. I wish it was used more often.
Yeah, I can definitely agree. But I can co-sign.
Uh, so your next honorable mention?
Okay, Kate from God Eater.
Okay.
All right, so Kate's not around in the story very long, but she's the girlfriend of Haru Omi, and he is best friends with Gil, one of the main characters of the series. We don't lo- we When the series starts, Kate's already passed, and we learn that Gil's nickname is just apparently it's called Fragging Gil. Well, not a nice nickname. Hey, but and we see that Gil has this bad attitude throughout the series that he can be loyal, but he doesn't have a lot of time for games, and we learn why that is. The reason Gil transferred to Blood in the first place is because he and Kate were going up against an Aragami, and the Aragami was destroyed, but it infected Kate, and once she was infected, she was going to turn into an Aragami, so she begged Gil to kill her. And Gil struggled, but he eventually did it. Imagine this one your friend's lover is telling you to kill her because otherwise she will turn into a monster. And then you have to tell your best friend, "Hey, I had to take her down." You learn so much about Gil and the type of person he is, and you immediately feel for the guy. And he does eventually get over the trauma that he went through with it, but it's a moment where you kind of stop and realize that just how much the characters are going through, and for all the crap Gil can throw at people, you understand why he'd rather just be on his own.
Yeah. Is he kind of I guess, a rule follower, like a strict one because
In
of
a
it?
sense, yes, because there is a time where you break a rule to save somebody, and he gives the main character, a hard time, just whatever, just be safe next time, okay?
Yeah, it sounds like it's a different way of dealing with the grief of like you did the right thing, but you also hate yourself for having to do it. So now you want to make sure everybody follows the rules to try to prevent have anybody having to do the same thing again.
Yeah, especially it makes it all the worse because it's like if the act just happened to him, that'd be fine. But the fact that everybody gave him a nickname and was horrible to him makes it all the worse. And I don't talk about Haruomi, and because he's kind of a flirt, he flirts with like he's kind of like Sanji in a sense, but he's flirts with girls. He's always asking the main characters like, "So, what's your favorite part of a woman?" And it sounds perverted and silly at first, but then you realize the love of his life is gone and he's not getting her back. So you might think to yourself, maybe he's projecting and he's still not fully over it.
Yeah. So okay. So I see that like the flirting is his way of coping or uh with the fact that he's not happy or whatever.
Yeah, and at first, because no one pointed it out to me, I'm just like, huh, it's kind of fun. Like him flirting, it's not the most tasteful, but it's not like outwardly horrible. And then when I finally saw his backstory, I'm like, oh, gosh.
Ugh. The characters in God Eater go through so much.
Yeah, it leads to a more or less happy ending, but at the same time, I'm just like, once again, therapy. Everybody in this show needs it.
You would think that with how common it is now, so like having a trained therapist on like these paramilitary organizations that attack monsters and stuff would be like common practice.
You would think so, but alas, not so much.
Because then we can't get the drama of people not dealing with their mental health.
I mean, it makes for entertaining television, so I guess you're right on that. But just Kate, she wasn't in the series particularly long, but the impact she had on Gil and Haruomi just it's a very entertaining death, if not a heartbreaking one.
Okay. Okay, so it sounds like it sets up many storylines for different characters, or at least two or three characters. It sounds like.
Yeah,
Okay. All right. So, my final honorable mention.
please.
So I put Ash from Pokemon. It's-
Go ahead.
I'm just counting again. It's an honorable mention because he comes back really quickly, but as a kid, this one hit home so much. First watching the Pokemon, the first movie, it was like we know Pokemon are supposed to battle it, but this is supposed to be them really hurting each other. And Ash runs in to try to stop Mew and Mewtwo from fighting anymore and try to end everything. And they launch attacks, and he kind of turns to stone, and kind of it's kind of hard to tell, but he's supposed to be dead. His eyes are open and he's not blinking. You watch Pikachu go out there and thunder shock him over and over again, and nothing happens. That I don't know. It's just it's an honorable mention because it happens so slowly, but to me as a kid, it hit because it's like, oh my god, Ash is dead. What's gonna happen now? How's the series gonna continue? And
I don't have the same emotions as everybody else for this, admittedly.
okay.
I guess for me, when I saw, I don't remember, I feel like I saw this movie before I was even 8 years old. But even when I saw it happen, I'm just like, he's alive, he's alive, he's alive. When you can't fool dumb little kid me, for whatever reason, I just never bought into it. Plus the whole everybody cried to bring him back thing. That to me still sticks. I'm like, that was dumb. Why? No.
Yeah, but as a kid, because I watched this when I was probably 6, because I was watching the anime at that point. I think I rented it, like when my parents let me pick out a movie that I wanted when we went to Blockbuster. It was so I grabbed Pokemon the first movie. This was just I don't know. To me, it hit at that point. But
I feel like, yeah, it does. Okay, all right. To be a little more fair here, it is shocking, and it is kind of it. They do milk it when Pikachu's trying to bring him back, even though I'm just like, yo, you get Squirtle. Water is strong against rock. Maybe that'll fix it.
yeah, I again, this one's an honorable mention only because of how it affected me as a kid. I remember, and again, once you've seen it once, it kind of loses its magic, which makes it an honorable mention. But it's just, again, I liked it as a kid. And,
I'll give
uh,
it I'll give it credit. It's better than Peak Ash is about to die, and right before that, Pikachu starts talking to him. It's a lot better than that.
yeah, those new multiverse ones where, because doesn't that also lead into him going to like real school and stuff?
Yeah, once again, if Ash Ketchum's biggest nightmare is going to school, trust me, I can relate.
And we did 4 extra years of.
Yeah, I don't know if I can necessarily co-sign just because of the like for you, I'm like I understand how you felt about it. But for what and this is me being legitimately serious. For whatever reason, when I saw that as a kid, it just didn't have the same effect on me. So I was just like, okay, he's probably coming back, right? Oh, he did. Okay.
Yeah, and because I think I watched this. I mean, it wasn't. I didn't see it in theaters, so I know I didn't see it when it first came out. But I don't think Johto had started really airing yet, so it was not yet like it's like maybe they're going to change protagonists still in my head or something. But I don't know. It was enough to just make me a little bit emotional, so I put it as an honorable mention on this list.
Meanwhile, nowadays, if he died, I feel like you and I would just sort of shrug like,
Yeah, it's like hmm, I don't know. Neither of us have given the new series that much of a chance yet, so
I'm more or less keeping up with it. I'm just trying to find a way of watching Pokemon Horizons without people being like, "Is Ash coming back?" Just leave him alone. Never mind.
yeah.
Also, I find it weird that the Pokemon were crying, but Brock and Misty weren't. They just sort of said, "Oh no, Ash."
Yeah, they're like, we're free. I can go back and work my gym and I can become a Pokemon doctor breeder at that point. So
Yeah, I do remember a deleted scene where they're dancing, and but then Ash comes back and they're sad. But it's on the DVD I have. Don't question it.
it's an edited cut.
Yeah. Yeah, but I understand where you're coming from though, and I know 90s babies are going to hate me for shrugging at it.
Yeah. And I can understand again, once you know what happens, it does lose its magic, which is why I made it an honorable mention instead of
Yeah, I can understand that though. Fortunately, I did come up with a backup because I also was going to talk about some of Goku's deaths.
okay.
Marowak from Pokemon Origins.
Okay.
All right, so at the top, Red gets to Lavender Town, and he has to deal with well all the stuff that goes down Lavender Town. And there's a girl who tells him, "Oh, there's a Cubone here," and we all know the tragedy of why Cubone has the mask it has. And it shows a Team Rocket grunt trying to capture Cubone, but a Marowak gets in front, and as Cubone's running away, we don't see it, but we do kind of see what happens when the grunt catches Marowak off guard when she's trying to save her child. And
Mhm.
after Red saves the day, we see the ghost of Marowak comforting Cubone and eventually passing on. But it makes you hate Team Rocket all the more just based on the levels they were willing to stoop. Look, it's an honorable mention because it's so fast. If you blink, you kind of miss it, but it pisses you off when it does it. And the fact that that Team Rocket grunt is still running around, I guess it infuriates you a little bit.
I'm trying to think of how to put it. It shows the difference between because this is more game canon than anime canon, but it shows just how evil the original game Team Rocket is by comparison to uh like the anime version. The anime version is still, I mean, they're criminals, but they're fun to watch and all that. The Team Rocket from the games is pure evil. They don't mind killing Pokemon. They will hurt Pokemon to get them to cooperate. They do everything in their power to be evil, and there's no other word for it. So I can co-sign.
Yeah, and say what you want about Red. Like everybody seems to prefer silent badass game protagonist Red. Like I said, I prefer Origins Red, who feels like a normal kid who makes mistakes. But whether you love him or hate him, you're rooting for him at this moment. You're just like, if the bad guys are scumming enough to kill, well, you want Red to succeed and take them down, which he inevitably does.
I wish there was more implied with in Origins with Giovanni, like maybe getting arrested or turning himself in, because he has the change of heart during their battle, but I wish it was more like implied that yes, I'm disbanding Team Rocket, but I'm also turning myself in rather than going on my own journey to figure this out. Because it's like, dude, you let these like your minions kill Pokemon, injure people, steal everything. It's like just disbanding doesn't make up for everything that you've done.
Agreed. Then again, there are gym leaders who hold their battles over active volcanoes, so maybe we need to just do a clean sweep of some of these gym leaders.
Well, yeah, and the fact that in the manga, most of them work for Giovanni, so it doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
It's just like, oh no, I'm the gym leader now, so I'm okay. I'm like, that doesn't, no, okay, all right, okay, all right. Hey, once again, would love more origins, but I'm not holding my breath.
We might get more shorts that aren't called Origins, but called something else eventually about
And
stuff.
they're like 2 minutes long, and I'm like, no. I want to. I'm trying to be nice today, but the death of the Marowak really showcased how evil Giovanni and Team Rocket are, but it makes you root for Red that much more.
Yeah, yeah. Especially because, as you said, some I understand some people didn't care for this, but I agree with you. I liked this version of Red.
Yeah, yeah. Wonder what they would have done with the other characters, but that's another point for another day.
All right. So my final one.
Please.
All right. So I debated between kind of two important deaths in Code Geass for my final one. But I settled on the final one of the series and Lelouch. I don't count any of the side stuff that has come out since the end. If you watch the original anime, Lelouch sacrifices himself at the end of the series, makes the plan to uh, uh, pretty much save the world and set it up for actual peace and harmony by getting himself killed as the last tyrant of his family be killed off. And kind of how you talked about Buddy Daddies, this is, in my opinion, the kind of perfect ending. It's like he's set his sister up to succeed him as the new queen, the one who can truly unite them. And you've got his best friend faking being Zero and actually killing him. It's just, in my opinion, it is the proper way to end the series.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's kind of shocking to like people without context to say, yeah, the main character dying, that is the good ending, but that's kind of what set it apart, especially when it came out, because you usually root for the hero turns himself around or the hero saves the villain and they become friends and everything, but to actively say the hero needs to die for the happy ending to occur really separated it, and it did make for an impactful moment. I can't speak on the stuff where it's like, oh, it turns out he's alive. Some people have said it's good, some people have said it's bad, but just, in the moment, I can understand why you'd love it.
Yeah, there was so much time between when the original series ended and when that stuff came out, and then it was hard to find. So I consider the anime itself is its own story. That's an OVA, its own thing. It's not part of the original story, in my opinion.
Yeah, I can understand that though. Especially because look, I understand in the sense that rooting for him to die was the good thing, but like he wasn't completely detestable throughout the series, which kind of makes it worse.
Yeah. The other one I was debating adding onto this list, it would probably would have been further down on the list, was his sister, who was kind of the first hope. She was up there in line to become empress, and then he accidentally uses his Gias to turn her into a mass murderer, and then she gets gunned down because of it. That could have been another very impactful death because it kind of changes how the series goes. Because again, you kind of have this hope they've got a plan, they're going to make her empress, and then she'll help fix and balance the world, only for them for her to turn into a monster and start killing Japanese people. And it's one of those, that death also feels very impactful, but this is like the true end of the story, pretty much, in my opinion.
Until the OVAs.
Which is why they're OVAs, in my opinion.
Yeah, I can co-sign though. It was one of the bigger, especially at the time, where people were like, "Did you watch Code Geass?" Yeah, I saw it. Is that it? I'm like, yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah,
Yeah, so the end of the series, it's another one that feels like it's the right moment. It's the right way to end that series.
yeah, I can co-sign.
Uh, so your final one?
All right, a Naruto death that nobody really talks about, but changed so much about the series. Hiruzen Sarutobi.
Okay.
All right, so the Hiruzen dies protecting the village in the Konoha Crush arc, and as sad as it is, he takes Orochimaru's arms with and Orochimaru and the rest of the Sound Village and Sand Village retreat. But in that moment, you hear him talking how he talks about everybody in the village and like, hey, I'm strong because I protect the people in this village. Even if you kill me, the rest of the village will live on because they live by the will of fire, and that he has love for every single person in the village, and he's entrusted them with the will of fire. Not to mention the fact that he does tell Orochimaru, the only regret I have is that he couldn't take Orochimaru with him. And the episode following is heartbreaking because you see the funeral and how sad and dejected everybody is especially with everyone else who died in the war. And you feel for look, as annoying as he could have been, Konohamaru, you feel for the kid. He's lost his grandfather, who he was incredibly close with. And the next several episodes they talk about, it's like, oh, the next several arcs, it's like, hey, we can't send these people out because we've lost so many people because the third Hokage and the war. You feel his presence throughout the series, and the fact that he did everything he could and he succeeded, but he also kind of failed in some aspects, it sticks throughout the series.
Yes, I could co-sign on to this one right away. I know some people really hate him, especially as we learn more about kind of the weaknesses he showed in other events, but his mindset was always on how do I save the most lives, and I see where he came from in making the certain decisions he made. So I can co-sign off this, especially at this point. We do feel how much emotion there is for it.
Yeah, and I know people get onto him because it's all, oh, the taking care of Naruto thing, but I have a couple points for that. One, he's the Hokage. He doesn't necessarily have time to focus on everybody. And the other thing that I kind of bring up is, wasn't Jiraiya Naruto's godparent? Why does Hiruzen get such a bad rep, but Jiraiya comes into Naruto's life 13 years later, and we're all just like, oh, well, Jiraiya was just... Look, I love Jiraiya, but at the same time, I kind of understand. I don't understand why he doesn't get that.
And there's so much to that with him taking care of Naruto. He does make sure Naruto is fed and has a place to sleep in the apartment that he has. Is it perfect? No, but I mean, he's also, I assume, trying to make Naruto feel as close to normal as an orphan can in this world. It's not like he's getting special treatment for being the son of a Hokage, which he normally would have had he been had Minato survived.
Yeah, and I guess to me the point that kind of bothers me about that's like Naruto hasn't said one bad word about the third Hokage. He's the one who told Konohamaru, it's like, we're gonna go around the village and make sure everybody remembers the third Hokage. Sure, he calls him the old man, but you get the feeling that he cared about Hiruzen, and he was saddened by his death. Like, if Naruto doesn't have a bad thing to say, even with everything that went on, I don't know how I could either.
Yeah, he and again, I brought up like stuff that he did wrong, and some people say that the way he handled the war was wrong because they could have won apparently, but he chose to make peace. But he did that in the mindset of, yes, we can win this war, but how many more lives will it cost us? How many more children have to go fight to the death? Does it cost more lives in the long run? probably, but he's thinking that he's making the right decision and he's doing it to try to save both sides.
Yeah, especially with People are like, well, what about Donzo? I'm like, it's not like Donzo was telling him about all the horrible stuff. Donzo is sneaky smart. Not to mention not to mention at the same time when it comes to him, and like, I remember he's the one who pulled Kakashi out of the root and said, no, this isn't gonna. Sure, it was because Might Guy requested it, but at the same time, like, he had the power to do that, and he saved Kakashi, but nobody ever decides to talk about that.
Yeah. Everything that he did in the mindset of being, how can I help the most people in this village? And does he always succeed? No, but no leader will ever fully succeed. So it's just, I see that this one is such an emotion, and you feel that the village, everybody there pretty much cares for him. It's implied that the only one who really was kind of celebrated his death would have been Donzo.
Yeah. Yeah, and even when Orochimaru was cursing his name when his arms are just like, Sarutobi, I'd like to think Hiruzen deep down is happy that Orochimaru has seemingly turned things around right now. But I also like to think a part of him was laughing like, hey, I might be dead, but I can still use my jutsu up here. What about you?
Yeah.
Especially the next several arcs when Shikamaru's like, oh, Sasuke's gone? Well, I need all these people. It's like, you know why we can't give you all these people. Remember, we're still recovering. Like, they recover from the war and his death for a while, at least until Shippuden's back up.
Yeah, that's the one thing I like about like these arcs leading after this is, and they do it again after the not Konoha Crush, the Pain's attack on the village. It's not like a lot of other series where we cut and it's a week later and they've completely rebuilt. It takes time, and they show that pretty much, and there's the politics of it, of having to, you've lost your super strong leader, now you've got to deal with being in that weakened state for a while.
Yeah, and I do love when Naruto says, when Naruto says, well, why can't we just refuse these missions? And Iruka's like, if we refuse missions, that's us telling the world, hey, we're not ready. Hey, we're weak right now. You get the feel like his death has long-term consequences, but like I said, he's such a likable dude, even with the mistakes he does make, and I will admit he makes mistakes, but the moment of him dying, the follow-up, and especially the fact that he got his own episode revolving around his death, which was a fantastic episode. Just Hiruzen Sarutobi, the third Hokage, no one talks about his death and the complications it had, but it sets up so much for the Naruto verse that if you ignore it, I don't know if I can talk to you.
Yeah, I will 100% co-sign on this one.
Yeah. So, are we ready to close out?
I believe we are.
Alright, so, ladies, gentlemen, Orochimaru's, because he can turn himself into anything he wants, apparently. What are some of your favorite deaths in anime? Hey, sad ones, happier ones, or just ones where you're like, admittedly, they're pretty cathartic.
Yeah. And do you agree or disagree with those on our list as being good deaths in a series?
Yeah. And I'm sure there are some bad deaths out there, and maybe that's another video for another day. But for now, we want to be positive today.
Exactly.
All right, so be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Be good to yourselves. Be good to each other. We'll see you next time. This has been Alex.
And Richard.
And you have been listening to Anime Egotists. Good night, and peace easy.